Balotelli, Aguero! England are in again. It's Emil Heskey! It's 5! You'll never see anything like this ever again!
Hello and welcome to the first episode of Speculative Effort, a brand new podcast focusing on the topical footballing stories that get us all ranting and raving. Transfers, appointments, trophies, competitions, club news, gossip, you name it, we'll be discussing it and debating it. What's on the list of talking points today, Ollie?
Loads coming up. So we're going to talk about Alexis Sanchez, Henrik Mkhitaryan, that swap deal. We're going to talk about V.A.R. and we're going to talk about the UEFA Nations League. What is it? Why should we care? Should we even care? We'll find out a little bit later.
They're all the questions that I want the answers to there. And of course, we're joined by our well-travelled Australian friend, Usman Azad.
G'day, how are you,
Good
mate?
day, Uz. Yeah, I'm good. You're bringing us some international football news today.
I am. I'm bringing you everything you need to know from outside of the British Isles.
That all sounds great. That's all to come on the first episode of The Speculative Effort. Formalities over. There we go.
Well, I, for one, am excited.
Me too.
I'm buzzing.
Me too.
It's brilliant work, and you've obviously done lots of work behind the scenes. Where did you get the music from?
It's royalty free, my friend. Royalty
Beautiful. 'Cause
free.
we don't
Was
have
that the
no
first thing on your
royalties.
mind? It's royalty free. So don't worry, I've covered that base already.
We do not have no royalties to be paying. No.
Yes. So anyway, Ollie, just talk about yourself a little bit. Oliver Bayliss.
Hello. Hi. Yes.
Hello.
I like football, as we all do, which
As
is
we
kind of
all
why
do.
we're here.
You are a fan of...
I'm a fan of also, well, Arsenal on a kind of a national level.
Yep.
England as well for my sins. Locally, Aylesbury United, love a bit of non-league football as well. Try to watch a bit of football at all levels when I can.
Go to El Quaquico quite a lot?
Yeah, so that for the less informed non-league ground hoppers among you is Aylesbury United against Aylesbury FC, the big one.
Tasty.
The El Quaquico, yeah.
Sounds
The moles
very
against the
tasty.
ducks.
The moles against the ducks. That sounds very tasty. Osman, what about yourself? You support who?
Yeah, in the UK, I support Arsenal. Back home, my local team is Perth Glory. They were lovely purple kits. Probably the only club side in the world that wears purple. Well, that's not true, but anyway, they wear purple kits. And Perth Glory's home ground is the lovely named NIB Stadium. It's one of those, one of those corporate deals where they get to name it.
What was it before?
It was known as Perth Oval.
Even then, they normally have nice historic names and relevance behind them. Nothing like that?
No, the lovely thing about Perth Oval, it's very much based on the English system. So you've got a lovely stand area called the Shed, and if you've ever been in the Shed, you usually when a goal gets scored, you get beer thrown on you from someone in the back of the bleachers.
Beautiful.
The dream
of a thing. So yes, I've been living in Australia, listening to football on the BBC. For my whole life. It's been great.
What about you, Guy? I feel like we should ask you, yeah.
Yes, no, thank you. Well, I am a Blackburn Rovers fan. Tough times being a Blackburn Rovers fan.
They were great once upon a time, weren't they?
Once upon a time, yeah, we were. We were absolutely fantastic. We won the Premier League, which is one of 6 teams to do so.
That's true.
But it did go all downhill the moment the Venky's took over in 2010, I think it was. It's a long time ago now. It's pushed it to the back of my mind because we've just dropped all the way down.
There's an Aussie whose claim to fame was that he played for Blackburn Rovers and won the Premier League. Robbie Slater. He claims that his claim to fame was he was a striker playing for Blackburn Rovers. He literally got 4 games or something like that.
Well, Blackburn aren't short of good Australian players in the past. We've had Brett Emerton.
Who?
Brett
I'm
Emerton's
joking.
a legend.
Brett Emerton, yes.
He's
he
no
played
Harry
for the
legend.
Socceroos. Good. He was a great winger. Good player. I think he played a couple of World Cup campaigns as well for the Aussies.
Yeah, I think he made quite a lot of appearances, but he was our connection with Australia.
He was.
I can't actually personally think of any other Australian players that have made it made it far in the Premier League, apart from maybe Tim Cahill, but...
Well, Viduka and Harry Kewell.
Schwarzer as well.
Schwarzer in goal.
We're lacking a good Australian player or two in the Premier League at the moment.
Apart from Aaron Moy, who plays for Huddersfield.
That's true.
And Jedinak is still in the
no, Jedinak is no longer playing in the Premier League. He used to be playing
Oh,
here.
did he go to Villa?
He did. He went down back into the Championship. And Matt Ryan is the goalkeeper for Brighton and Hove Albion.
There we are.
Fun fact for you all there.
Well, that was a great round of Name the Australian.
Well, it's a good thing that you're both Arsenal fans, because the
Is
first.
it?
Well, you've taken a turning point now. You're into the final of the League Cup.
It's a fickle game, isn't it? Everything's doom and gloom. 2 wins on the bounce, and suddenly it's come on, the Gunners.
I don't know.
20 more years. Bring back Senderos. Bring back Tony Adams.
Sorry, Ollie, for the record, what was it that you were saying after we won this, the League Cup game? You were like, Wenger, sign up Wenger.
Yeah, 20 more years, boy.
Are you Wenger in?
No, I love Arsenal. I think, like every Arsenal fan, I love Arsene Wenger. I really want to see it work under him, us win the title one more time, and then he can go with some glory and it be a perfect end to, but that feels like it's not going to happen. Every season that feels further and further away, and every season we're slipping further and further away from a title contest. So it's kind of got to the point where we just want a sort of a half decent ending. It's like a book we're all a little bit bored and fed up with, and it's like watching Lost. We were promised lots of things. The first few series were great, and then towards the end it's like, right, this isn't all going to tie up perfectly. What we want is just a satisfactory 5 out of 10 ending where we can all go, yeah, all right, we enjoyed that, and then move on. So League Cup, Europa League, that'll do us.
Very quickly, I'm Wenger out. He's had his chance. He's failed numerous times. It's time for the club to move on.
What 2000s TV show would you compare him to?
So I was going to say, I have never heard Arsenal or Wenger compared to Lost, the TV series, the US TV series. I've never heard that comparison before in my life.
I don't compare it to a 2000s
kind
show.
of insight.
I will compare it to a 1990s show. It's like Friends, but everyone's all fed up with each other by the end. They were all really lovely. Everyone was happy. There was a little bit of success, and then by the end, everyone got sick and tired and wanted it to end.
That will they, won't they, between Steve Bolden,
between Sanchez and United and City. Well, that's
well, let's
our
talk
topic.
about that.
Yes, so Sanchez has moved to United from Arsenal. Turns out, though, really, it wasn't that much of a bad deal. You got Mkhitaryan in return. What are your thoughts on Mkhitaryan, first of all?
Well, as a straight swap, it's not an amazing straight swap, but the thing that I think we're all happy about is we were so expecting Sanchez to leave at the end of the season for nothing, or in January for 20 million, and what's 20 million in this climate? So the fact that we've actually got something tangible we can get excited with, physically a player, that's all quite exciting. And Mkhitaryan is a player who, he's not shown at United, but he came to United with a big reputation, was doing really good things at Borussia Dortmund. He scored tons of international goals as well for Armenia. It's something to get a bit excited about, isn't it, Esmond?
Yeah, I think the thing I have a problem with is it's just another luxury player that maybe Arsenal shouldn't be focused on. Perhaps we need some strength in the back. We've been crying out for that for years. It's great that we won't be left, without Arsene Wenger described Mkhitaryan as a world-class player. I mean, I don't know if he's quite world-class like Sanchez, but he's certainly a decent player. So in that sense, it's positive. But I guess we desperately need some strength in the back. If we're going to play 3 at the back, we're going to need another central defender. I think Johnny Evans has been talked about in the press. I'm not quite sure if he's up to the scratch of what we need to really give us some good, at least good backup if in case Koscielny goes down injured.
But okay, another question for you then. Do you say you need to strengthen at the back, or you feel like you need to strengthen at the back? Fair enough, but Pep's shown this season with Man City that you don't necessarily have to be really strong and secure at the back if you can just outscore the opposition. That's been Pep's mentality: is we will outscore the opposition, we will win. They're scoring 3 or 4 goals a game now. You've now got Mkhitaryan, who's, before he moved to Man United, he scored 103 goals in 269 appearances, which for someone in his position is, it's good. It's good for Arsenal to have that. If you think you've got Mkhitaryan, your Ozil, Lacazette in front, the opportunities will be there for Lacazette. He'll score more goals. It's a positive outlook, I think.
I don't think that's the issue. Is that Ray Powell talks about the times when Tony Adams would, bark in the dressing room and physically, threaten players if they didn't.
Are you saying that Mohamed El Neni is not doing that?
No, what I'm saying is that
he's clearly not.
The problem is, well, I think I've answered my own question. But
he's clearly not. And at the back, it is an area that Arsenal need to address. Quick stat for you: West Brom, they're in 19th place, have conceded exactly the same amount of goals as Arsenal.
But you're scoring the goals, so why does it? I'm going to take a Robbie Savage position here. Just you're scoring the goals. Why you're winning when you outscoring the opposition? So why does it matter that you're conceding as many as West Ham? West Ham are down the bottom. You're not. So why does it matter?
Because it's a lot harder to win games if you're also conceding. The two things that matter in football games is what you do in the opposition's box and what they do in your box. And if you can stop them scoring as many goals, that is as good as you scoring goals. It's fundamentally as easy as that. So you want to be strengthening at both ends of the park. But I think the point that Usman's making is valid, that we're continuing to try and play with three at the back, and we don't really have three good defenders.
And also the fact of the matter is that I attack when it's brilliant. It's brilliant. It's not very consistent at being brilliant. So while Man City, are scoring goals for fun, Arsenal are struggling to consistently score goals against not just the best teams, but some of the teams that are in that other league down the table. And when you're struggling to score goals against them, then conceding goals at the back is even more of an issue, because then you're already behind and you're struggling to break down defences.
Okay, but so you're going to get Aubameyang in. Great, he's another striker for you as well to have on the pitch, along with Lacazette. The two of them up top would be very dangerous. Would you rather that? I think is it 50 million? He's going to, or 57 million? I think it was.
Yeah, it's thereabouts. It's going to be 50 plus. Yeah.
Yeah. So, would you rather not have Aubameyang and maybe invest that 57 million in another goalkeeper and a central defender, or would you rather have Aubameyang up top?
No, absolutely invest it elsewhere. Aubameyang's a little bit of a puzzler as far as I'm concerned. I don't think Wenger is likely to play two up top, so he might be looking at Aubameyang up top, Lacazette on the left, but more likely it's just that he's lost a little bit of faith in Lacazette. In fact, to be honest, he's never had a huge amount of faith in Lacazette to begin with. He's started most games on the bench, and in Aubameyang, you've got somebody who misses more games through disciplinary issues than through injuries. He's a difficult character in the dressing room. That's part of the reason why he's never made it to the top level, and he's a player who's always spoken about wanting to play for Real Madrid. Well, the reason he's not played for Real Madrid is he's such a hard player to manage. And Arsene Wenger's not got a great track record of managing difficult personalities.
No, he's certainly not the person to bring a rogue into line. What he's better at is nurturing young talent and sort of taking them from diamonds in the rough and making them into world-class players. But they've had to have their own talent. I guess obviously the classic example is Thierry Henry. When he arrived, he was playing on the wing. Next thing you know, he's reinvented himself into a striker and breaking records and winning the league. In terms of trying to take someone who isn't really a team player, I don't think he's got that's Arsene Wenger's skill set. Although he's a very talented manager. You don't win as many FA Cup trophies as he has if you're a mug, but I think the problem I have with Aubameyang is it's almost the same problem we had with Sanchez. Sanchez thought he was a better player than in his own mind he probably thought he was bigger than the club, and it's led to the issues we've had of a contract dispute. What happens in the future if Aubameyang gets above his station and thinks, I'm better than the club, I want to go to Real Madrid now? Well,
then you sell him for more.
But that's the problem.
By that point, if he's getting above his station, he might well be worth it in that sense.
Maybe.
I don't know if he'll ever end up going to Real Madrid. He's 28
and he's a player whose game is built a lot on pace.
He could easily be picked up by another team. Chelsea like to buy players to pop them on the bench, so other position teams don't have them. He's a great signing. He is a great signing. I think if you've got those four up top in Ozil, Lacazette, Aubameyang and Mkhitaryan, whoever's playing up top is going to get a lot more service than they have done for the last 6 months. Transfers change mentalities as well. Ozil is going to be happy to stay for the next 6 months. He might play better now, but the mentality might change. I know there's a lot of hate towards Wenger still, but you're in the final of the League Cup now after beating Chelsea 2-1, and from what I saw, Arsenal just looked a bit sharper between the ears than Chelsea. There's a funny mood going on at Chelsea at the moment. I'm not really sure what that is. Yeah. I mean, the whole managerial situation really just blows my mind in the fact that they think of getting rid of their managers even though they win the league the year before. But Arsenal just seem to be a slightly different side. You're both fans, so you know more than I do. But from what I've seen as an outsider, Arsenal seem to be a bit more up for it, a bit more together. When the first goal went in, the fans, you thought it might turn a bit nasty, a bit spiteful, but you came back strongly, scored the second goal, and you're into the final now. Who knows what could happen in a final?
I don't think the issue with Arsenal is their work. When it comes to those big games, those FA Cup finals, it seems like Arsenal turn into a different team. They become more disciplined, more determined, more willing to play from the back. I think they beat Man City in an FA Cup game where they've just played very dogged football, and to hit them on the break. The problem is not that; it's that when they play the teams that they should beat, they just struggle to perform.
Yeah, absolutely. It's those teams where it's the way we set up and the lack of preparedness against teams that we should be beating. It's your West Broms last season and games like that. It's Bournemouth this season. It seems it's going to hit on the break, and there seems to be this reluctance to ever set up and look at how the opposition are going to play. And that works fine when you've got one of the best teams in the world and you're invincibles, whatever, you play how you want to play, let the opposition worry about you. But Arsenal are now the 5th or 6th best team in England. You have to be aware of how the opposition are going to play and try and counter some of those threats. And there's a real lack of that at the moment at Arsenal. But what we have seen in the last 2 games is this kind of cloud that's lifted amongst the fans and amongst the players. And you can see in the dressing room, Sanchez is gone, and suddenly players are kind of stepping up. There seems to be a bit of an atmosphere again about the club.
Yeah, but 100% I agree. It does. It just looks different. The whole, the thought of, is Sanchez staying? Is he going? Does he want to be here? Does he not? That's just gone now, and it seems like you've got a clean slate to go forward for the next 4 months at least. You're still in with a shout with Europa. I mean, we looked at the draw earlier, and that seems to be quite. No, I'd back Arsenal to get a semi-final finish in the Europa League. Who knows? And then the League Cup as well. And this takes us on to a next point actually in V.A.R. And I'm going to turn to you for this, Ollie. Does it work? Does it not work? This is it's a debate that just takes us up into the clouds, but it's one that's going to be going on for a very long time.
I hate it. I'm more than willing to be proved wrong with it, but I just fundamentally it depends whether you think football is a science where we're trying to find out categorically who the best team are and categorically, who deserves to win something. Whether it's an entertainment, it's an entertainment for the fans in the stadium, for people to watch at home. And we've got officials who are, pretty good in England and in fact, at major tournaments as well. They get 98% of decisions right on their own. And there's something quite innocent about kind of being able to look at a decision and think, did the bloke in black make the right decision there or not? Yes, no, and go from there. What I hate about it is that it isn't gonna kind of remove the analysis of referees. It isn't gonna take the pressure off them. What it's gonna do is introduce an extra layer, an extra confusing and complicated layer of analysis on the decisions that are being made by people we can't see in boxes somewhere else, not even at the ground. And analysing whether or not they were wrong or right to overturn the referee's decision, whether or not the foul that was on the halfway line 40 seconds before the team won the ball back should have been enough reason to disallow a goal. And at the moment, they're going with this idea of, well, it has to be kind of a blatantly wrong decision for them to overturn it, which is probably the right way of doing it. But you've got to educate fans that that's what they're looking for. So when the referee decides something's a dive and books a player for a dive, and then we look at it again and you go, it probably wasn't a dive. Well, it probably wasn't a dive isn't enough. It has to be, it's definitely not a dive for that decision to be overturned. And I hate the fact that you can't see it at grassroots football, you can't see it at league football. Yeah. We have this ridiculous situation of the Bristol City-Man City game where in the first leg at Man City, we've got VAR. Well, in the other leg, because it's Bristol City and they can't set it up properly, we haven't got VAR. It's like, hang on a minute, it's the second half of the same tie. Yeah, and we've got different rules.
There's a difference in fairness in that sense. And, if it is a second leg of same tie, you need to have identical rules for both games. Then whether it favours one team or the other, it doesn't really. But I understand what you mean, and personally, I do like it at the whole grassroots level, even before any kind of technology, goal line technology. I like that.
But it doesn't.
It doesn't.
It doesn't interfere with anything, and it's so categorical. It went over the line. It didn't. Get on with it, and it's so instant. It's fine. It's and maybe you could do that with touchline. Maybe you could do that with corners, goal kicks, the other kind of lines, and the other really clear black and white issues on the football pitch, but. The rules are written to be interpreted by a referee. So the handball rule, nobody really knows quite what it is, and the way it's written down isn't the way it's interpreted. The way it's interpreted is if it was... So the rule itself is if it's deliberate handball. The way the referees interpret it, it's all this kind of unnatural position and everything else. It's such a grey area, and it's for a referee on the pitch who can kind of get a better feel for the game than you can ever get watching from a screen. It's for him to interpret.
But it makes the game fair. It
But do we
simply
care?
does
Do we not
make the
just
game
enjoy
fair.
yelling at a referee and looking at decisions and going, "Oh, we got that a bit wrong"?
But when the decisions could be a make or break of whether Arsenal go through to the final of the League Cup, and you might not care about it in that way. But say you're in the Europa League final and they had it there, and there was a decision in the 90th minute, and it was 0-0. Lacazette's fouled in the box. It was definitely a foul. Referee doesn't award it, but they don't go to VAR. Arsenal lose on penalties. Don't go to Champions League next year. A decision like that, go to VAR. Oh, yeah, that's a penalty. Arsenal score 1-0, win the Europa League, go to the Champions League next year. That's got a huge financial implication on teams as well. Maybe not for a club that's of the stature of this top six, but we were talking earlier about teams like Middlesbrough when they were in the Europa League. The opportunities like that don't come very often, and you saw how much it helped Leicester when they were in the Champions League just from the money that they got. There's such a massive financial gain to be had for some teams that VAR can help sort the right from the wrongs. And I know it can be laborious, but it makes things how they should be. It makes things go ahead how they should be. But, not on the verdict of one referee.
But never again, as a football fan, can you see your team score a goal and celebrate that 100%, knowing that is a goal. We all as football fans know you've got to cast one eye quickly at the linesman, see if that flag's up, because we've all been caught out like that. More than once.
Yes.
But apart from that, quick look at the linesman, and then after that, yes, you can go for it. You can celebrate. There's none of this. And same with the penalty. The referee blows the whistle, points to the spot. Done. You can celebrate. You've won a penalty. There's none of this. Oh, hang on. He's putting his hand on his ear. We've got no idea what's going on in the stadium. No one's really sure what's going on. Hang on. Oh, it's going to take a minute. He's having a word. He's having a chat. What's happened? Oh, no, he's done something else. He's disallowed it. He's cancelled the penalty. You want that immediacy. You don't want to be celebrating a goal 3 minutes after the ball's gone in the net when finally the referee says, yeah, that was all right. And I think that's kind of the problem they're seeing in Italy and Germany. It's working to a certain extent, but it's that immediacy of that reaction as a fan. Surely you want that for all the 1 in 50 times where that goal's wrong. Surely you want those moments in football. You want those last minute winners. You don't want. I guess the England 66 ball went over the line. There was a bit of a conversation with the linesman, but pretty much, you want that initial. It's a goal. There's no. Well, wait 2 minutes and. Everyone's complaining, everyone's gesturing to the referee doing the square box, and he's doing that, and 3 minutes later, because it's a big decision, they want to get it right, we then finally get a goal, or we don't get a goal. It takes away from the moment.
Is VAR yes or no?
Yes,
do you like it?
And I do. And I'll tell you what, I'll go to one of my favourite games, which is cricket. We use the video system very easily. It's been in for very many years, and it works perfectly. Tennis uses a similar system that's used very easily. And I don't think VAR is the problem. What's the bigger problem is the inaccuracies that ruin the integrity of the game. And when you've got people, you've got punters on the sideline saying the referees always get it wrong, they have to be protected in the way. And VAR is the only way you can protect them. If there's a way that you can do it, obviously the process is the issue, but if there's a way the referees can quickly check contentious decisions and get it right, then the football public will be happier with that than if it gets wrong and the team loses the game.
I agree with that. I think the tennis and cricket examples are exemplary examples. They're the best you can offer because they're so instant and accurate that they're broadcast on the big screen. That's the only problem with football as well, is that the whole process is so long that it would be better if they were 30 seconds maximum in cricket and tennis, and if they could do that in football, perfect.
The process is entirely the problem, and I don't see a way of making that process.
I see. There is a way.
And quicker.
The way they do it in cricket, they have a fourth umpire, the umpire who sits in the TV, who sits with the monitor and has the authority to call decisions or give advice to the on-ground umpire. It could be done the same way. There could be someone who's watching the monitor, can give advice to the on-field referee in football to tell them, look, you got it wrong, or yes, you got it right. Done. End of story. And it could be done very quickly with the technology and the money that's in football. There is a way where you can transmit to the referee, actually, that penalty where you said the guy tripped outside the box, or actually it was inside the box. That needs to be a penalty. Can be done just like that.
But tell me what happens then if a player goes down in the penalty area, the referee waves play on because he doesn't think it's a penalty. In the time when the guy is rewatching that 3 times to make sure it definitely is a penalty, the other team goes up the other end and scores. Which will, within a season of introducing that will happen 2 or 3 times.
Yeah. Not saying I've got all the answers, but there has to be but there has to be a way where if there is a contentious decision, play can be stopped. The referee
but-
can stop the play and then can actually go, hang on a minute. I thought I called a play on.
There's so many stoppages in football as it is, and there's so many injuries and throw-ins and the rest. Like,
But aren't you one of these football fans like me who gets really frustrated when you see a decision with the footage, you see the replays, and you can see it's clear as day that's not a penalty. I mean, there was one where Chambers got done for a penalty in a game recently, and you could clear it was not a handball. We could all see it. The referee couldn't see it. That's a clear example.
no,
where if
see,
the
I don't know
referee
if
had
it is. I don't know if it is. I think that is enough. That is an example where the VAR official can say, it's probably not an absolute miscarriage of justice that it did hit his hand. So you'd probably go with the referee's decision because it has to be absolutely blatantly it didn't hit his hand. It hit his hand. It wasn't in an unnatural position. It was from about 3 yards away. So
That was one of the most unfair decisions. Paul Chambers, there's no way he was to get his hands out of the way of that one.
don't know, but again, it's a grey area. It shouldn't have been a penalty. Most people think it probably shouldn't have been a penalty, but it's enough of a grey area where do you necessarily overturn the referee's decision and undermine his authority or not? And then you're having a discussion about a bloke in a box, and it just takes it one step even further away from what's actually happened on the field. That's
But
my
don't
issue
you
with
want to
it.
get the decisions right, though?
Exactly. I go back again to this whole financial argument. Is look at it the other week. Abdoulaye Doucouré, the Watford player, scored with his hand. He quite blatantly just punched the ball into the net. The referee didn't see it. Odin Linesman didn't see it either. They thought it was his head. Goal was allowed, and that gave Watford that gave them a point. So Southampton lost 2 points. If Southampton go down this season by 2 points or less, VAR would have solved that problem. That's Southampton getting relegated. The financial implications are massive.
But I know it doesn't always balance itself out, but normally over a season you get one way and you get one the other way.
That's not
and
the way it should. We shouldn't be relied upon it balancing out one way or the other. What it should be is that every game we get decisions as right as possible. If we've got the technology, we should use it. The fact that we don't use the technology is a crying shame when other sports do it. If you can make the decisions in the game during the 90 minutes and get it done and get it correct, then I think football fans, most of the right-minded ones, can accept a couple of minutes delay to get the decision right.
I think we can comfortably agree that it's not going to be something that there is a solution to anytime soon, especially not this season. The main question is they're going to use it in competitions in the future. They need to make sure they get it right.
Well, the big one is the World Cup and
Yes.
the plan at the moment to use it. If you're going to use it in the World Cup, you need to make sure you're pretty much definitely getting that right.
Should we do some trivia, Ollie, to
Whoa,
relax
let's-
from that debate a little bit? Do you want to go for some trivia?
I think I need to. Okay, quick one for you. Now, I'm not expecting you... Well, at one point here for telling me how it could have happened and like 20 points if you can name the actual time it did happen. I'm not expecting the actual time it did happen. I just want, like, how it physically could happen in football, first and foremost. Okay, so here we go. In English football, a team has scored with 2 consecutive touches of the ball without the opposition touching the ball in between.
Maybe have it one more time, please.
So in English football, at some stage, a team has scored 2 goals with 2 consecutive touches of the ball without the opposition team touching the ball in between. How's that occurred?
They scored, and then they scored from kickoff.
But the other team's got a kick-off.
That's a good one.
That's a spicy.
That's a good one.
That's a spicy meatball.
What do you think, Gus?
Well, they okay.
Stumped. There's cricket reference. He's stumped.
Scored from a free kick, and then it's been disallowed because someone moved out of the way, and then they score again. They get to retake and they score again.
No, 2 allowed goals.
Oh, okay. Well, then I'm still stumped.
It happened in the year 2000, September the 23rd. If that helps you, it won't help you.
That won't help me.
That won't
at
help
all.
you.
No,
Certainly not.
absolutely
You're not far off. You're not far off. With Guy's answer was probably closest.
Oh, God's sake!
Really? Okay. Well, let's have a think. We'll have a think, and we'll come back.
Can we
to it.
come back to it?
Okay, do you want another one to have a think on as well?
Yeah, why
Yeah,
not?
go on.
Yeah,
That's
let's
the one that we
let's
can get
do
right.
2. This one's a bit more guessable. Okay, so there are 7 players who have won a Premier League medal with John in their name. How many can you name?
Ooh. 7 players.
7 players.
So
Okay.
John Terry's the obvious one.
John Barnes.
John Barnes, no.
Has he not? Ooh. Okay.
So yeah, John Terry, that's one of your 7.
I'm struggling to name a John football player off the top of my head.
Stones. No. He's
No.
Not
No,
yet.
John Stones didn't win.
Not
He
yet,
wasn't.
I mean-
he didn't win with Man City that time.
Ask us again in a month or so.
Arna Reese didn't either. Right. Well, we'll leave those 2 trivia questions there and see if we get any. Are you on Twitter, Ollie? Are you?
Yeah, I'm on
interacting
Twitter.
with anyone?
I'm on the Twitter, the tweeties.
Has anyone jumped on that yet?
I'll put it on Twitter. Let's let you guys have a go first, and then we'll reveal it a bit later.
Well, following on from the VAR conversation we just had, and saying it's going to be at the World Cup, the UEFA Nations League.
Whoa.
Do we need it?
Get the flags out.
Firstly, what is it? Ollie, fill us in, please.
Get the flags out. I'm excited. I'm not excited. I'm confused.
I'm confused.
Can I also say, as a person who likes to think he knows quite a bit about football, the UEFA Nations League has gone over my head. I don't understand what was wrong with the old system of qualifying for the World Cup. I don't understand what this is going to change and why.
Right. So, it's qualifying will still happen. Don't worry, you're qualifying safe. All the things you love about qualifying, your games against San Marino, Andorra, they're safe. You've got them as well. You're going home with them. Don't worry.
The 26-0s that we love and we watch. Wembley's a fall for those big games against Andorra.
Your games where Wayne Rooney can score 5 and then add that to his tally that made him the top goal scorer. Yep.
You've banked them. They're fine. Don't worry.
Good.
But you know the games they play that aren't qualifiers, those really boring friendlies that no one really cares about.
Where like the who cares?
You play Kieran Richardson and whatever, yeah?
Yeah.
Those ones will be gone. That's what the Nations League will replace. So the way they've done it, they've ranked all the European teams with, who's best, who's worse, and then they've split them into 4 leagues. So you've got League A, League B, League C, League D. And the beauty of it is, England at the moment, they're in League A, but they can get relegated. Not only can we not qualify for a major tournament, we can get relegated.
We can get the feeling of being relegated in the same year.
So these are replacing the international friendlies.
Yes, exactly. And it just adds a little bit more meaning. And what it does is it allows your Gibraltars and your Andorras to play against each other to try and develop a little bit. So if you're, say...
And qualify, is it not?
Yes,
they can qualify.
That's the extra carrot at the end of this friendlies. So your Liechtensteins and your countries like that who are used to having to just park the bus and defend, suddenly they get to play Gibraltar and Armenia and Macedonia, and they actually get to play a game where they might win. So it helps from that point of view. And so the way it works, you've got 4 different leagues, and those leagues are split into different groups because you can't be playing 20 teams or whatever, 12 teams in a season. So they're split into different groups. England's group, get excited, Usman, Spain and Croatia. Ooh. Can you imagine, right?
That's 2 losses right there.
Later this year, at Wembley, playing Croatia, a draw or a defeat, and we get relegated. Can you imagine the drama? Bring back the umbrella and Steve McLaren.
Will there be tears? Will there be tears of that game, the relegation playoff game, or that game where you have to win, like in the Premier League? If there's a relegation game and all the fans come out, will all the England fans come out if they think they've got to beat Croatia to stay in League A of the new UEFA Nations League?
It gives it a little bit more meaning. Granted, they're a little bit like glorified friendlies, but if you win your group, you go through to like a winners competition at the end of the year, and that that's something to win. You get a plate. It's not actually a trophy, but it looks a bit like a plate, but you get that. And it also, there's a bit of a weird backdoor into qualifying for the Euros as well. So if you totally fudge your European qualification group, if you win your nations group, you end up in the playoffs.
Can I ask a really simple question, Ollie? If it's taken you the best part of 5 minutes and you've spent all day researching this,
and I've barely explained it for me.
It's taken you 5 minutes to explain this. How do we sell this to the European football public for them to get excited about this change, and is it needless?
Well, rather than Italy playing Portugal in a fairly meaningless exhibition friendly, Italy are now playing Portugal to try and win the group, and then we have a little tournament. Be like the Le Tournoi, 1997. Come on, England. It'll be like that in the summer. We can get excited about a little minor tournament that we might win. We won't.
I want to float a really silly suggestion. Can we just get rid of the friendlies altogether and not have this UEFA Nations League, and we just have what we do care about, which is the qualifiers?
Where else is Kieran Richardson going to play? How are we going to find out if Wayne Bridge is still as good as he was?
We could take a squad that is atrocious to the World Cup, and we would never know until they played. I mean, we do that every year anyway.
We would know. We do know.
We do that anyway, but my main question about it is, would, replace the friendlies, yes, but would we not just field a load of kids in this?
No, I think it'd be like friendly. So I think, half of the England first team will pull out with mysterious injuries and then be available on the Saturday. But it's just a bit more meaning.
But it has much more severe consequences if we do feel.
Well, there are no worse consequences than us just getting relegated a few times. Like at the end of the day, that doesn't really matter. It's not going to massively affect anything too much.
I guess the issue with the qualifiers is that we will talk about players not going, and we've heard managers. I think Harry Redknapp once said that he'd heard stories about players who said, "Oh, Gaffer, please don't take, please let them know that let the guys know that I've got an injury and I can't go." is this going to change that mentality of players saying, I'd rather rest up that sore ankle for a couple of days so I can play the next weekend's club game, rather than go to a meaningless friendly where it seems like the only penalty is I'm going to get relegated to Group C of the UEFA Nations League. The UEFA Nations League just sounds silly.
But it has consequences though, doesn't it? I read somewhere that Scotland are annoyed about the group that they're in, because they're in the Group C, I think, but the problem with their group is they do get relegated. They might really struggle.
It's all linked to your coefficient and then
place.
linked to your draws in the other groups as well, and things like that. And the better you do, the more chance you've got of entering into the playoffs for qualification.
But it makes it harder for if you've got that group. How many groups are there?
So there's 4 leagues.
4 leagues. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Having a place or two for the teams in League 4 that will go to the World Cup will make it harder for teams like Northern Ireland, Scotland, Wales to qualify in general.
But it's barely a place, in all honesty. So it's a place if you win that group and you're not already qualified in the playoffs for the Euros. So and the Euros, bear in mind the Euros is an expanded tournament where pretty much everybody who's is going anyway.
And that is a state.
Yeah, more or less. So it's I don't think there's a huge amount of genuine peril the way I've understood it, but I might have got it all wrong. It could be nothing like that. It's quite confusing.
It could be chatting rubbish, to be honest.
Well, we're definitely doing that, but whether it's in any way accurate, not totally sure. I'm excited. I'm putting my flag out on the car.
I don't understand what it is, but I am, because it's a bit of silverware, isn't it?
Yeah.
We're in the top seat. We're in the top league. We could actually win a bit of silverware. And England
we've got
won
to
a
beat
bit of
Spain,
silverware
but...
for a good 52 years of hurt now. 52 years.
Le
of hurt.
Tournoi 97.
For what it's
Look it up.
worth, I'm going to throw in my adjective, and it's not excited, it's intrigued. I'm intrigued to see how it works. I'll probably watch a game. Will I get excited? Will it stop me from going to sleep early one night and watching the Spain versus Croatia game in Group A to see how we go? The answer is no.
You'll get excited in 30 years' time when they try and revitalise it like they did the Eurovision Song Contest and they add Australia. That's when you'll get excited. They do that in South America as well, in North America, where they just kind of let Brazil have a go in the
Copa America.
The North American one.
Yeah, what was it called again?
I
We
can't
mentioned it the
remember.
other day, and it's just a million initials all in
CONCACAF. Is
one.
it CONCACAF?
That's it. Yeah, what is it?
The Gold Cup. No, that's something different.
Yeah, CONCACAF. So it's that.
When we do that, because the space is available. There are spaces available. Groups of 3, groups of 4. The space is there, Usman.
To be confirmed. Let's see how it goes.
To be confirmed. I think we should field some kids, and it's a good bit for experience. We're not the worst team in that group, so we should be all right.
Yeah,
we're not the best team either.
Let's give Mason Holgate and Harry Winks a go.
Get Mason Holgate sent off, and Harry Winks can just... Spurs fans can be happy that Harry Winks has been selected again.
Before we go any further, just very quickly, we talked about the World Cup and World Cup hopes. Very quickly, in one word, are you confident that England will get out of the group stage at the World Cup? Yes or no?
I mean, absolutely. But I go into every major tournament with sort of a blind confidence. Yeah, I'm getting very excited. Jesse Lingard scoring goals. We've got Harry Kane. We've got Sterling, who's having the best season of his career. Bring it on. I'm excited.
The British press seem to have this great ability to find one player to put all its hopes on.
Yeah.
Who is that player?
And then Harry Kane does his Achilles.
Who is that player that, who is the metatarsal player of this campaign?
It's Harry Kane.
Harry Kane. Full stop.
It's Harry Kane. He does his metatarsal, and we're all sitting there going, "Oh no, Harry! Oh, hopes have gone down the drain."
It's just such a lack of backup in that position. It's
Jamie Vardy, bring it on. Have a
it's
party.
just a vicious cycle,
Peter Crouch, Jermaine Defoe.
What happens is you've got the pre-tournament optimism. Then you go into tournament yourselves. You had the players come out. The press kind of go, maybe we're not prepared for this. The first game where you draw, the press go, I don't think why don't we bring this player? Why didn't we bring that player? All I can say is I'm not confident for you guys.
Who's in Australia's group?
I will tell you that
when we go to our world news. When we do our world news, we're not on world news
all
yet.
I'm saying is it's a tricky one.
It is a tricky...
Spoiler alert.
I would say for England's group, though, I definitely think we can get out the group.
There's just something quite excited about playing Belgium, isn't there? We've not lost to them yet. If it was Germany or Spain or Portugal, we'd all go,
we concede defeat to that
How
one
is it
already.
that Belgium have been able to get to a position where they have got their golden generation all playing at the highest leagues, all playing the best teams in the world, all at the same time? And England, once again, are in that situation where it looks like we're 2 years out of sync with them.
Well, no, we had that in 2002 and 2006. We just we just fluffed it up.
Yeah, we had the golden generation, that was a fantastic
But
team.
since
that
then, we
was.
haven't
We just
had
took
the
Theo Walcott and Michael Owen
It's
hurt
always
himself.
a case of, we're always we need to give the kids a chance, and we'll be all right in a couple of years' time. When we get a couple of years' time at the UEFA, the European Cup, then it's like, oh no, we're still blooding the kids, we're a couple of years behind. And it seems like Belgium, we haven't talked about them a lot, but now we're getting to a point where you've got great players like, people like De Bruyne, you've got people, just great players everywhere down the line, all the way, playing for Tottenham and, playing for Manchester United. And as I said, you guys are resting your hopes on one guy named Harry, another guy named Kane to score you goals and get you through the group.
Yeah, but it's a totally unproven group, that Belgium group, in terms of major tournaments. And got 2 words for you: Roberto Martinez.
The other topic of the week that's come out is club crests. Have you seen what Leeds United have done to theirs? What their PR team
What they
has
have
come
done
out
is
with?
they have taken a team with such proud history. They've taken a team that, Premier League, the team, pretty much every other Australian loved Leeds United when you had Mark Viduka there. And what they've done is they've turned it into, it's like something like a fan would have kind of drawn up on Photoshop.
There it is. That is atrocious.
There it is.
So
in
just
all its glory.
For those who can't see, what it is basically, it's like when you put your fist and you tap your chest like that, you tap your heart.
Good sound.
It's the Leeds.
It's that sound.
It's the Leeds proud symbol, is it? I can't remember what they called it, but it is. It has some kind of meaning to the club.
Celebrating fans at the heart of our identity.
That's it. And I think there was a player that did that as a celebration a few years ago.
I'm sure every player has done that at some point. Has hit the
Great
heart
sound.
with a thud. I know when the Gunners, they changed their crest a few years back, it was a bit controversial. Well, we kind of get over it. But this one, I don't think people are going to get over it.
That's the thing. I hated that Arsenal crest when the new crest was announced, and now you look at the old one and you think it's really. I mean, it is dated because it's dated, but you think that's really old-fashioned. So sometimes it is the right move. But I think in this case, the fans' reaction is kind of made the point that perhaps it's not quite right.
I'm not au fait with Leeds. What was the crest beforehand?
It was glorious. I'll show you. It was the kind of the yellow.
Oh yeah, the
and
beautiful
blue. It looked like an actual crest.
It's very nice. It's what I remember it as. A lot of Leeds fans have been saying, "Oh, why have we not gone back to the White Rose that was there before, which they won the second and first division with?" And they've now come out earlier today with a club statement saying they are now going to have another consultation because there's been a petition with 70,000 signatures on it.
So that puts it to bed. But when should you change your crest? That's the question I have. What is the circumstance? What is the time when you should change your crest? Because it is synonymous with your club. It's a big deal to change it. I don't know if Leeds really put some thought into why they were changing the crest. I thought the old one was perfectly fine. So in what circumstances should a club, any club in the world, think about changing something that is effectively part of their DNA?
I think it's making a slow transition. If you look at sort of crests through the years, most clubs have gone through, several different versions, but sometimes it's almost unnoticeable. It's making those kind of little tweaks that just make it feel a little bit more modernised without totally getting rid of your kind of your logo and your identity and your Latin words or all that kind of stuff. The Leeds United one looks a little bit like, as you were saying earlier, Guy, it's just that kind of like generic sort of early Pro Evo or Football Manager where they haven't got the licensing right, so it's honestly, like generic badge 4, isn't it?
It looks like they should be called the Northern White Roses or something like that, because it honestly looks like it's from Pez or Football Manager, because in the Premier League they don't have the rights or whatever. It's a caricature of a crest.
But
it's embarrassing.
But what it also shows is that people do care about the crests. People will get up in arms if you stuff it up. And football clubs, I'm not sure how Leeds sort of thought it through, but where was the consultation? Where the clubs? It sounds like the clubs, one day they woke up, the fans woke up and thought, oh my god, we've changed the crest to this? Where does this come from?
So this is the statement that they released when they first announced that they'd created this new crest. Said, as we approach Leeds United's centenary in 2019, so it's the 100 years, so which is why they decided to change it. Most clubs do change it every 5 to 10 years. They've said, we asked our fans and other people close to the club what the next 100 years meant to them. We received great feedback and were blown away by the passion and depth of engagement. Throughout the process, several key themes emerged. Fans are full of optimism about the future. Okay, are most fans not? The clear majority of fans...
I don't know, speaking as a Blackburn fan.
Blackburn fans maybe, yes. The clear majority of fans are not attached to the current crest. Well, they got that one wrong.
What club is not attached to their current crest?
Fans are not afraid of change. They got that one wrong. Leeds United has a turbulent recent past and bright future, and fans are ready to embrace a new era and believe a new crest will be a powerful signal of change. And they said after a rigorous process that spans 6 months to get this crest, and they consulted 10,000 people. 10,000 people, and they got a positive reaction with that. And then on Twitter, they had comments under the tweets that they posted that got more likes and retweets than the actual crest itself.
My concern is that, were they 10,000 fans? Because the shock in which it's been received would suggest that the fans were not totally aware. You know, had they been showing it outside the ground and getting reaction to this 3 months ago, I can't imagine there was that kind of shock. Whether they've consulted, and I guess your target audience are the people of the city that don't come to games as much as the ones that do. So I don't know, maybe they took it to shopping centres in Leeds and asked people there. I don't know, but it feels a little bit like a apprentice task gone wrong, doesn't it?
It says through digital surveys, one-on-ones, group interviews and meetings with legends, current players, club staff, the owner, partners and representatives from the Leeds and Yorkshire communities. Apparently they got it so wrong that within 24 hours they've now got a petition that's got 70,000 signatures, so they are now reassessing the idea to even change it at all. My question to both of you is, what's more important to keep, the club crest or the club's colours?
I think the colours all day long. Your crest is 5% of your shirt and what the team looks like. I think it's the colours are crucial. I mean, the fuss at Millwall. What club am I thinking of that turned to red? The fuss at Cardiff. That's the one. The fuss at Cardiff when they changed to a red kit for those seasons going up in the Premier League. It's very identity and very heart of your club. And yes, you can do nice things where you change for a season to something else or to a classic kit, and you can play around with your away kit. I love an odd away kit.
But those are odd away kits, the third kits. Oh God.
And I think your colours are kind of the heart of the team, aren't they?
Agreed, absolutely. Colours all day long. Crests come and go, and obviously when you make those small changes, when you modernise something, you take and I think that's what the Arsenal one was. It was more of a modernisation. They still had the guns that are synonymous with Arsenal. They still kept them incorporated into the new crest. When you go away from what you've had to have, basically some guy putting his fist on his chest, which is completely hasn't been in anywhere near the crest, that's when you're going to get a reaction. So yes, I think you don't want to change the colours. If Leeds turn around tomorrow and say we're not going to be playing in the white the white that we usually have, and we're going to be playing in green, then it would be right outside Ellen Road. But the crest, I think, it's as important, because while it does take up a small percentage of your kit, it is synonymous. It is part of your brand. It's part of your history. It's a lot of people who've seen that, and therefore it is as important.
And I think with all of this, its history is so hugely important to fans. You talk to any fans, especially fans in the Football League, and they'll talk back to an era 10, 20 years ago when they're in the top flight and then an FA Cup run and they won the FA Cup. It's all about history. It's all about history with fans. It's not about the here and the now for most clubs, because the here and the now for most clubs is quite tricky and quite depressing for a lot of football fans up and down the country, unless you're watching Man City week in, week out and getting excited about it. If you talk to most other fans, it's those glory days. It's the fourth round of the FA Cup. It's the that crazy giant killing. It's the day you got to the League Cup final, or it's all about the history and that brief spell you had in the top flight, or when you came third in the top flight in 1957. That's what it's all about. It's all about history.
Ollie, let's hit that trivia corner again, shall we? Do love a bit of this, bit of boogieing.
So
there we go.
I love this bit as well. This bit reminds me of feels a little bit like a caravanning documentary on Channel 5. There's going to be adventures along the way, but none of them too dramatic.
Don't know what you watch in your spare time, Ollie, but it doesn't sound interesting to me. Fire away with those two questions again. I've got one of the players.
Oh, nice. Okay, so the first question was, In English football, a team has scored 2 goals with 2 consecutive touches of the ball without the opposition team touching the ball in between. How did it happen? Any more ideas on that one? You were close with the kickoff thing.
Yes, so they scored the first goal, and then...
Right, so I'll paint you a picture. I'll talk you through what happened. It was
Please do, because I'm absolutely bamboozled.
it was a warm late summer's day, 23rd of September 2000 at Adams Park. Wycombe Wanderers were taking on Peterborough. Tamagotchis were all the craze.
Really?
Yeah, 2000. You weren't in this country at that point.
So it was a Wycombe goal.
Yeah, so
Why can't I remember what it is?
After a pretty uneventful, pretty quiet first half, 45 minutes passed. Stoppage time at the end of the first half. Wycombe had a free kick.
Oh, I've got it.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Up stepped Jamie Bates, who scored directly from the free kick. Goal! But that was it. That was all the time they had at the end of that first half. The whistle blew. They all went in for half-time. They came out at the start of the second half. And Jermaine McSporran, straight from kickoff, scored. That was a tricky one. The slightly more gettable one was the second question. So there are 7 players who have won a Premier League medal with John in their name. How many have we got? So we had John Terry.
Yes, John Spicer.
No, not John Spicer.
Who's John Spicer?
Arsenal.
Yeah, but no, never in the...
Was he not an Invincible?
No.
No way, not an Invincible.
And I don't think played a huge amount as well. Sometimes you've got to have played...
You've got to play the minimum amount of games to get a medal.
Yeah, well, you kind of get given one sometimes. The club gets a certain amount now and they dish them out. But but yeah, not... No, John Spicer is not one of them.
Oh, I honestly thought he would be.
I put it out on Twitter as well. Dan Harvey on Twitter has got John O'Shea.
Oh.
So that's your second one.
Yes.
And all the others, okay, the clue was that they got John in their name somewhere. So the other 5, in fact, have John as a surname.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's a
so it could be
like Johnson.
What is that true? It can be Johnson.
I said John in their name several times.
I was thinking it would be something like
How's this going to be?
a double-barrelled surname or something.
Question.
Well, yeah, that's all right.
Or, so,
No, John in their name.
Did Glenn Johnson win one?
Yeah, so a few Johnsons in
Yeah,
there.
Glenn Johnson,
There you
ding,
go.
that's 3.
One second, I'll go back to...
Ida Good Johnson.
Yep, Ida Good Johnson.
There we
Phil
go.
Catchpole on Twitter's got that one as well.
Yeah, well done, Phil.
Well done, Phil.
I tell you what, I'm pretty stumped.
Yeah, give us the rest, Ollie.
Okay, well, John, you went far off with Johnson, so Ronnie Johnson, Man United, 97, 99, 2001, and Adam Johnson was the other one during his spell at Man City.
Did AJ get a
Yeah, whilst
medal?
he was at Man City.
And hang on, there's one more.
And there's one more.
He was called AJ.
There's one more.
Don't tell us all. We're going to try and get it.
Okay, one more before the end of the programme.
All right.
One more at the end.
Okay.
Well, next up, let's speak to Usman because he's got his worldwide soccer story of the week.
This is glorious, Guy. You said to me, what sort of music can I get? And I said something with accordions. You've gone one better.
Well, no, it's just a bit more playing on the stereotype, you know?
Is it reminding you of home? Is it reminding you of a sausage sizzle and a kangaroo burger?
You get down on the beach and put some shrimp on the barbie.
I'm speechless, mate. I don't know what to say after that. I didn't think you'd actually go and pull out the didgeridoo.
What's your story?
What you got for us, Iz?
Right, well, it does come from down under.
Yeah, see, I know where these stories come from.
These stories come
every
from...
week it'll be tailored to where it is.
This week's story is about the Socceroos. They've qualified for the World Cup. They are going to be playing in Russia. They have been without a coach after Ange Postecoglou decided to pull the pin after he'd qualified through the playoffs. They beat Honduras in the playoffs. So they've been without a coach.
So why did he resign?
Right, so there's been speculation that he's been feeling the pressure of the press speculation about how he's played. He hasn't played very attacking. He's been playing very tactical, changing the lineups, putting Timmy Cahill on this wing or that wing, put him off, not playing him at all. So what's basically happened is he resigned a few weeks ago and they've been without a coach. There's been a worldwide search. Some of the names that have been linked, quite surprising. Jurgen Klinsmann was linked.
Big name.
Roberto Mancini was linked.
Even bigger name.
Basler? Yeah.
Who's that?
Oh, he was some guy.
Who's a Basler?
Basler guy, anyway. The point is, there were some big names linked. The guy who got it in the end was a guy you may have never heard of, but he has some pedigree. Bert Van...
Big name.
Big name.
It's a tricky
big
name.
pedigree. You might have heard of him.
Bert van Marwijk as their new head coach. You may be asking who he is. Basically, he is Dutch, and the Australians have a bit of a funny history of the Dutch. We've got, two previous Dutch managers. Guus Hiddink, he was an Australian manager, Socceroos manager.
Really?
Yeah, he was. He took us to the 2006 World Cup after the time in the wilderness. We finally qualified, and
Is there anyone Gus hasn't managed?
Pim Verbeek was also a Dutch manager who's managed the Socceroos and taken us to World Cup, and now it's Van Marwijk's town. Van Marwijk was in touch with the Dutch team for the 2010 World Cup, where they lost 1-0 in the final. Question is, he's only got a few months really to get this team that's not exactly world beaters and get them to be competitive. In our group, we've got France, Peru, and Denmark. We're not going to beat France. So tactically, if you're the Australian management team, you're going to be sitting there going, we need to get 4 points out of those 2 games to qualify. Peru have been out of the World Cup for a while. I think since the late 70s they were last qualified for a World Cup. So they're sort of an untested quantity. Denmark have got Christian Eriksen as their big player, but really apart from that, they really don't have many others. So Australia have got to try to find 4 points out of those 2 players. The problem is who is going to lead the line? Tim Cahill is older than my haircut, and unfortunately he's now pushing a good 36.
Will he make the squad?
Yeah, of course he will.
I'm not interested in an Australian team if Tim Cahill's not in it.
Tim Cahill will be in the squad. The problem is who do we play around him? So we don't really have many high standard players coming through. So really, the question is, when you have only a few weeks to take a team and turn them into world competitors, maybe
Into Denmark beaters.
Well, they have to beat Denmark. I think really the way for qualification is to beat Peru, draw to Denmark, lose not too bad to France, maybe 2-0 to France, and then go in on the points.
Or you do what New Zealand did, just shut up shop and just draw them all. Draw all the games, don't lose, and then release a DVD about it called Unbeatable.
I don't think that's going to be enough, though. I don't think you can, in this group, I don't think you can draw all the games and get through.
You can't normally anyway. You can't do, as England have proved, you really struggle if you draw the first 2 games.
So
it's even worse if you lose them both.
Yep. A couple of controversies. We've gone away. Ange Postecoglou was an Australian manager. We've gone away from that. We've gone back to a foreign manager that is controversial in the Australian press. They're not as rabid as your tabloids, but they are rabid in their own way, so they're not very happy.
Anyone got Mark Viduka's phone number? Harry Kewell doing all right, Crawley?
Harry Kewell,
managing, not playing.
Future boss
of Australia.
Keep him fit.
Yeah.
Bring him back.
Definitely, they'll bring him in because he's a hero.
Wait till he proves himself at Crawley Town before he, we give him a call.
I, for one, enjoyed that. I found that both entertaining and insightful.
I really enjoyed that, but might have just been the music, to be honest. Ollie, relieve us one more time.
I'm not sure about this music, to be honest.
It's sport.
No, it's not that. It's just that I've heard it twice now, and every time I've come out feeling like a silly person. I'm going to feel very silly after I don't get these last 2.
2 more. Have we got any more on Twitter?
We have. Let's have a look. Oh no, can't read that out. That's rude.
Have you had someone said these questions are difficult?
No, we haven't. We've got another one though. We've had John O'Shea, we've had John Terry, we've had Ronnie Johnson, we've had Glenn Johnson, we've had Adam Johnson, John Obi McKell, or McKell John Obi, depending on how you wanna.
Great shout.
That's your 7.
He came out of nowhere.
Who is the best John on that list?
John O'Shea, John Terry, Ronnie Johnson, Idiger Johnson, John Obi McKell, Glenn Johnson, Adam Johnson. I'm gonna say it is. That's John Terry, isn't it?
Yeah, probably. Still going today.
Although I do have a bit of nostalgia for Idiger Johnson. That season, him and Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank scored about 40 goals each.
Yeah.
Like some
That was
exaggeration.
before the money bags of Chelsea arrived. wasn't it?
Before they changed. Well, I think that's about it, isn't it?
How'd you like my quiz? We bring that back next week?
Yeah, I think we should bring it back.
Okay.
Do you like it?
Yeah,
Change the music.
Can we change the music for the worldwide soccer thing and make it a bit more worldwide?
Okay.
I'll see what I can do. Well, Ollie, thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Usman, thank you very much.
Arrivederci.
This has been Speculative Effort. This is the first episode of the podcast. Thank you very much for listening.